Hi everyone, it's Gyro. Hi everyone, it's Gyro here with another build for you. Today I am once again trying someone else's build rather than making up one of my own. I am on a roll with those builds and I have heaps of fun this time around trying Minion build, Minion army build from lovely Kay. Everyone knows Kay who is serious about builds for Path of Exile, different leagues. Kay is a dedicated summoner. She explains things well, she is a specialist, so she knows a lot more in depth about how to make your minion builds bulletproof, versatile, different style of minion builds she's trying. I really enjoyed trying this build from her, and today I'm gonna do what I do best on my channel. I simplify builds, I break them down into, as basic form as possible, even though I kind of don't need to do it for Kay's build because Kay is fantastic at doing it herself. She's not overcomplicating things, and that's why I quite enjoy watching her guides myself. It's a lovely build. It's very lazy in terms of once it starts clicking together, once all minions are working and doing their jobs properly, bodyguards are guarding your body, attackers are constantly in the attacking mode, and so on and so forth. It is a lot of fun. You just walk around the screen and everything dies. And sometimes I'm in a mood of this completely passive gameplay. It's kind of like an auto bomber build where you just walk around and stuff dies. Except in this case, you take your dogs for a walk, as I used that metaphor before, and they simply kill everything. That's the beauty of this build. What are the negatives of this build? Not many, to be honest with you. Maybe boredom. If you are into more active gameplay, this is a rather boring build. You just run around, periodically tell your minions to attack a particular target, or giving them buffs by doing the flesh offering skill, using the flesh offering skill, which sends your minions into a bit of a frenzy and gives them speed. Aside from that, you just run around on the outskirts of a boss or of a pack, summon skeletons, because skeletons are temporary, obviously, summons. They are not permanent summons, such as golems, such as specters, such as zombies. And yeah, and that's the whole gameplay. There is not all that much to say about it. It's a safe gameplay from the perspective of you don't have to be in the heart of action, even though I do end up being in the heart of action more often than I'd like to. Aside from that, you just dodge boss mechanics and you let your minions eat everything. That's about it. I was following mostly Kay's guide, and you will see my own version because some of the points that she allocated in a certain way I've allocated differently in the passive skill tree, which is why I'm offering you my own path of building, as always, in the description below. If we take a more specific look, it's obviously a Necromancer. I've allocated Ascendancy points slightly differently, and yes, we will start with Ascendancy here this time around. Normally I start with a passive skill tree, but I'll talk about Ascendancy. During your first go through the labyrinth, you go to Mindless Aggression, and then you go to Bone Barrier, because you do need that level of defense, which is bound. Bone Barrier skill is fantastic, very helpful. Free shield, basically, that is bound to my left mouse click. As I walk around, it just pops up, and pretty much on all the time, unless it gets used by the hits from the enemies, but so what. My third time going through the Merciless Labyrinth, I've taken actually as opposed to Kay's advice, so this is where there is deviation in my build compared to hers. I've gone towards Command of Darkness because for my even more passive gameplay, where I don't rely on offerings as much, I actually rely on the auras. I have at least 3 auras running all the time. Right now there are 2 on, but I'm running 3 normally. And I would love extra increased damage for myself and my allies, my minions, and elemental resistances are very, very, very helpful, obviously, as well. My 4th time, the final go through the labyrinth, Kay took this node of Mistress of Sacrifice. I am not going to take it because I'm still convinced that what I took now, for now, as well as the currently missing Unnatural Strength that I would take as number 4, go through the labyrinth would give me more oomph for my buck, more bang for my buck. That is my take on it. You can choose to follow her, she's a specialist, all respect to her, or you can choose to follow me, up to you. As far as the overall, here is a picture if you want to take a screenshot or whatever of the overarching tree. It's very, very similar to Kay's with some subtle differences. Key differences that I'd like to point out to you is that I did take Mind Over Matter. Kay does not take Mind Over Matter. I do think that even with the even with the auras consuming quite a lot of your mana. Not all of my mana is consumed, and even a little bit of extra barrier from extra splash damage that can sometimes one-shot you even in this nice safe build. Mind over matter actually helps me, but I'm tentative on it, and I probably will drop it for something else, just free up the point maybe the more I play with this, if I feel a bit more solid. At the moment I feel like it did make a marginal but positive difference for my survivability, so I actually needed this. And I also invested into these nodes around Minion Offense Mastery, into Redemption and into Righteous Army earlier than Kay did. As you can see right now, this character is only level 74, and Kay, I think in her guide, started taking these nodes towards level 95 and stuff like that. I think she was beefing up the build a lot more into life skills, into going towards far, like life nodes that are located fairly far. I think she went over here and took these nodes, not strong arm obviously, sorry, this barbarism. I think she takes barbarism, and she takes also Juggernaut. Juggernaut looks great, but you have to go quite far and invest quite a few points before you even reach these branches of the tree. So she does that in her build. I have opted into a slightly different journey, so I did not beef myself up with this, but also I saved the points and made my minions a lot stronger. I also have a couple of items, so Kay's build, what's good about it and what I liked about it is that it can get anyone started very, very easily. She relied in her basic build on no uniques, credit to her. I started like that too, obviously, but then I have to point out that I was very lucky to get this wand, Midnight Bargain. Midnight Bargain offers a particular gameplay, particular spin on a gameplay that she does not rely on, at least not in the build that I'm referring to. This one massively, insanely increases damage that your minions do. Insanely, and it's a lot of fun. It's crazy fun, crazy fun. Minions deal 51% increased damage and have almost 1/3 increased movement speed, plus 1 extra zombie, 1 extra spectre, 1 extra skeleton. Crazy, right? It reserves 30% of your life. So I did compromise a little bit my survivability with this, and maybe that's partially the reason why sometimes I get one shot, because otherwise I have actually a fairly decent amount of life for this early end game character at level 74. Let's not forget that it's only level 74. So yes, I gave 30% away, and that's why some one-shots get through my 3800 of life and negligible amount of shield. That is why I tried to recuperate that, like kind of get back that life with Mind Over Matter. Hopefully it makes sense. So that's my spin on Kay's build. And I still believe that with the massive amount of increase of damage that's coming from this item that you probably can buy for a couple of chaos right now in the community market, I do think that your build becomes a lot more fun than the real baseline of Kay's build, the one that she's offering. At least that's my subjective opinion. I very much welcome yours in the comments down below. Please talk to me, especially if you know what you're talking about and run summoner builds. Would be lovely to talk to you about this. Other than that, for leveling, I'm just using Tabula Rasa, and for early end game, I'm still in Tabula Rasa, so I'm not all beefed up for defenses and for everything else, as you can see. As far as the clusters of gems, you can see them all in the Path of Building link below. That always is a better place to go and take a closer look at my build. But here, I'm using Summon Skeletons, supported by Feeding Frenzy support, supported by Phantasms. Yes, I like mass amount of summons, that's just me. I know that Kay is also not running Phantasms, if I'm not mistaken, I don't think she does. Minion damage support goes without saying, Minion speed support goes without saying, and here, believe it or not, in the same cluster, I'm using zombies, I'm raising zombies. Yes, it can be seen as lazy, but I'm gonna say it's just a bit casual of me, and yes, it can be optimized further. I could just make each cluster about one particular summon. One for zombies, one for skeletons, one for specters. In this case, I thought they're eating everything anyway. It dishes out so much damage, this build, that one at this early end game level can't complain. What I can complain about, and it's my own fault, and it's subject for further improving this build, you know, even Kay herself says, look, I strongly encourage, she says, to level up this build and transition this build upon reaching the early end game, transition it into one of proper, truly bulletproof endgame builds of hers. Because I don't have a better build to offer you right now for later endgame, I will do what I did throughout this whole video, and again give credit to her and redirect you to Kay's channel and to suggest that you take a look at what specialist is suggesting there. I normally have fun by reaching endgame, kicking a few butts of the bosses here and there, sharing it with you, my friends, and then transitioning to another build of something else. Something like Toxic Rain, something like, yes, Arc Witch, yes. Stuff like that. Hopefully you enjoyed this for what it's worth. Very quick and easy check-in with you. At the moment having heaps of fun with this Minion build. Highly enjoying the guides by Kay and intending to continue sharing with you builds of my own completely and those that I'm testing from other people, other content creators, other creators of Path of Exile. If you enjoy this content, best way for you to tell me that you do is to hit that like button. Don't be shy. Takes you 1 second, takes me a lot longer than 1 second to put this together for you. And this tells me that you're interested in this kind of content going forward, and just generally any positivity is appreciated these days. Who doesn't want positivity in their life these days? Anyway, enough said. I'll be speaking with you again in probably about a week time about some other build, or maybe about further journey of this particular build through the end game of Path of Exile. Thanks very much for tuning in. Talk to you soon. Bye for now.